Hello classy people, this is Josh the Top Hat Gamer, and this week I'm reviewing Uncharted 4: A Thief's End. Few games are as synonymous with the PlayStation brand as Naughty Dog's Uncharted series, and so far, the series has given us plenty of memorable characters, compelling stories, and action-packed set-piece moments. Does Uncharted 4 reach the high standard set by the rest of the series? Let's take a look. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End takes place 3 years after the previous game. Our protagonist, Nathan Drake, has retired from the treasure hunting life to pursue a normal, less dangerous future with his wife Elena. But his plans hit a snag when Drake's long-lost brother, Sam, comes back into his life, bringing the promise of lost pirate treasure and adventure with him. The Uncharted games have always taken the time to intersperse smaller character-building moments alongside the action-packed set-pieces and gunfights, and Uncharted 4 is no different. On top of the intriguing tale of lost pirate treasure, we get a story that deals with Nate's background, how he deals with his long-lost brother's return, and his inability to leave his past life behind. It adds a lot of depth to a cast of characters that we've become familiar with already, making them more human and more relatable than ever before. Aiding in the endeavour of making these characters more relatable are the beefed-up visuals and top-notch voice acting. The character models are far more detailed and realistic than ever before, allowing emotive facial acting alongside the brilliant, grounded voice work provided by all the voice actors on hand. The visuals continue to impress throughout the game, thanks in part to the fantastic lighting and water effects, as well as a surprising amount of varied environments to platform and fight your way through. Speaking of platforming and fighting, Uncharted 4's gameplay is fast, fluid, and satisfying, as you would expect the culmination of 3 previous games to be. Most of the game is split into 3 sections: platforming, combat, and puzzles. The platforming is still fairly linear, but there are a couple of new implementations that keep it really interesting. Using a grappling hook to swing to areas is fun, and the amount of control given to you while doing this is surprisingly significant. It would be rather frustrating if this mechanic was difficult to pull off, but Naughty Dog have tweaked it in such a way that it's easy to identify when you're within jumping range at the end of your swing. If Drake is reaching, you're safe to jump. Simple. Also added to the platforming mix are sliding surfaces, downhill slopes that force you to slide towards death drops, meaning you'll need to think fast and identify a safe escape route before Drake drops to his untimely demise. Again, these are fairly simple to navigate, but when you're forced to contend with sliding, swinging, and collapsing platforms, things get pretty intense. The addition of these mechanics was sorely needed to spice up the potentially simple platforming. The combat, on the other hand, remains largely unchanged. The cover-based shooting feels a lot more frantic due to the more competent AI, destructible cover, and slightly looser gunplay, giving Uncharted 4 a much more action movie style with bullets flying all over the place. The melee system in the game is unfortunately a little bit less robust, with a lack of a counter button making fistfights feel a lot less fluid. That's a shame because the use of contextual animations also seen in The Last of Us gives the hand-to-hand combat a very cinematic feeling, which is shattered when dodge rolling away is your only real defense. Enemy encounters don't always need to end in gunfire, however. The Uncharted series has dipped its toes into the stealth pool before, but it's always felt more useful as a way to get rid of a few bad guys before taking on the rest of them in a straight-up gunfight. Uncharted 4 easily has the best stealth in the series, taking a few cues from The Last of Us, allowing you to slip silently through entire enemy encounters without being seen, while also being able to lose enemies even after they've spotted you. And before I forget, Uncharted 4 also takes competent companion AI from The Last of Us as well, and even improves on it by having your AI buddies assist you in melee brawls, shootouts, and even stealth sections. I've never been so impressed by companion AI. The last core element of the gameplay are various puzzles scattered throughout Uncharted 4. These are rarely too challenging thanks to Drake's handy tip-filled notebook, but they provide a good breather from the shooting and platforming action. In addition to its core gameplay elements, Uncharted 4 also gives players the opportunity to drive around in certain large areas. For a mechanic that only pops up once or twice, the driving is actually really satisfying, allowing you to drift around muddy corners or speed through valleys. These sections even incorporate light puzzle and platforming elements that require you to use the vehicle's winch to access areas or manipulate the environment. There's honestly a lot to see in Uncharted 4. Unlike previous entries in the series, Uncharted 4 actually gives you some pretty large areas to explore, and while the game is still quite linear, these areas allow for a good level of exploration, and you can find various treasures or notes as you explore. Plus, if you're really looking to get everything you can out of Uncharted 4, the game features a surprisingly robust multiplayer suite with plenty of unlockables and fast, frantic gameplay to sink your teeth into. Uncharted 4: A Thief's End gets the Top Hat Gamer rating of excellent. Top-notch visuals, impressive performances, a compelling story, fast and frantic gameplay, these are the things that make Uncharted 4 one of the most enjoyable video games I've played in a long time. It has a few minor missteps, sure, but as it stands, Uncharted 4: A Thief's End is the pinnacle of an already impressive series, and in my opinion, is the PlayStation 4's defining title. Thanks for watching, I hope you found the review informative. If you missed last week's review on Ratchet & Clank, click the annotation. Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm going to go and drool over Uncharted 4's visuals some more.